Good evening, guys. I'm Ashley, and for tonight's informative speech, I'm going to be speaking about how a hearing person would communicate with a deaf person. Here last semester at North Shore Community College, I took the course American Sign Language and had come to find out that my professor was completely deaf. So I was able to get an understanding of how a hearing person would communicate with a deaf person. And the number one golden rule is you want to make sure you're patient. Patience is key. It takes a lot of patience to get an understanding because you are having two cultures who don't have an understanding of communication with each other because it's just difficult in that sense of one person is hearing and the other isn't. So first off is when you are communicating with the deaf person, you want to make sure you guys are both eye level and facing each other. And when you are talking and speaking with them, you want to make sure your mouth is fully nice and clear and visible so they can understand and read your lips. You want to make sure you're speaking normally and clearly at a normal pace. You want to try and keep your sentences a little bit short and use simple use of language, because when you are using some type of like slang talk or something like that, they might not fully grasp that, or they could use it in a different context and just not understand. It could become very difficult. You want to make sure that only one person is talking at a time, because let's just say, for example, you had one deaf person and two hearing people. If the two hearing people are speaking both, it's hard for the deaf person to get an understanding of what's being said because they are reading your lips and they can't focus on two people at once. That just becomes totally difficult and just too hard for them. They will not really catch anything. It's just too difficult for them to understand what's going on and what's being said. And you want to make sure you're understood when you're talking to a deaf person. So you want to maybe ask them questions, make sure they're understanding what you're saying, just so you guys are having that equal balance of the communication and what's going on. You also want to use gestures and body languages to clarify like your emotions and stuff like that. Deaf people really go by gestures and hand movements and all that type of body language stuff. They're able to get a really good sense on how someone's feeling just through their facial expressions and what they're saying and their emotions when they're talking. You want to maybe ask a question just to make sure that the person understands. I think I already mentioned that. You want to write down maybe any type of info just in case you're maybe not even sure, or it's just easier for you at the time. Like, for example, my professor for homework, let's just say, instead of signing it out or something like that, she would just write it on the board like, tomorrow's homework is such and such, it's due on this date. Just important stuff, that information that you really want to make sure is going to get across to people. You could maybe write that down or something like that. You want to be patient though, like I said. You want to just make sure that the person does understand, and if they don't understand, just try again. There's different ways you can communicate. There's not just lip reading. You can go to use of technology. You can send them an email. You can send them a text message. You can write just on the average pencil with paper and stuff like that. But you really want to make sure that you're straightforward with what you're saying. There's no like, I wouldn't even say in the sense that you would want to joke around or something, because they could take that out of context and just maybe not understand what you are saying about that. So you don't have to, people have the perception that, oh, a deaf person, you can't talk to a deaf person. Like, how would that work? A hearing person and a deaf person, which is totally not true. Totally. I honestly thought that going into the semester with the course that I took last. And I just was thinking, how was this going to be possible? We have a full class of hearing students with a deaf teacher, but it is totally possible. And as long as you're patient, like I said, that's number one key. And as long as you are willing to give the time and talk slowly, and some people do have a hard time with that, but as long as you talk slowly, get an understanding of your emotions and your gestures and showing them and getting really into depth and connecting. It's all about connecting when you're talking to a deaf person. You want to make sure that they're understanding you and vice versa, or nothing's getting mixed up in the way. And that's really about it on the deaf thing. So if you do see a deaf person out and about, and just wave hello. That is a simple hello, is a simple connection and conversation with that person. And they would really enjoy that. They would. But thank you.